I'm Kathleen Henderson from Roots and Boots, and I'm going to show you how to assemble and use a food mill. I've recently received a lot of questions about what kind of food mill I use and how does it work, and there have been concerns about the sturdiness or durability of different food mills. So I thought I would walk you through my food mill. I'm going to show you all the pieces and how it's assembled and how I use it, and hopefully that will help to answer your questions about how to use a food mill and maybe even which particular food mill to purchase. If you're in the market for a good food mill, I will include in the description below this video a link to this food mill that I have used and loved for a number of years now. So these are the pieces. I'm holding the main body here in my hand, and it's got this clamp that you clamp onto a countertop or a table and then tighten it. I have figured out, for me, this is the best place for it to go because I have some overhang here on my counter. It gives me just enough space to put my pot of whatever it is that I need to transfer to the food mill, and then I still have room for the sauce to come out the chute. And yeah, it doesn't work as well like up against a drawer or cabinet. There isn't enough space here, so you need an overhang, which is why it works better for me here on this part of my island. Okay, so the pieces, these are all the pieces. Now, somebody was asking about leaking, and they felt like their food mill was leaking all over the place and also felt very flimsy. So I was going to say all of the pieces are super sturdy. The only piece that I can see ever maybe breaking is this plastic chute, but the company has been fantastic. I have ordered replacement gaskets. That is this white rubber circle that goes right in here. They're very easy to lose. I have ordered those. I feel like I even had to, I think at one point I may have had to replace my spring. I think we lost ours somehow. Anyway, all of my interactions with the company have been fantastic, and all of the parts are easy to replace if you happen to lose one or if it breaks. Again, the only piece that I can really see breaking is maybe this plastic chute. So this is the main body, and then this spring goes right on here, and then these are three pieces all fit together. This thread, I don't know what to call it, but it's the part that turns and carries the tomatoes or whatever it is that you are milling down through this sieve, and then that white gasket goes in there. So those three pieces fit together like this, and then you want to line that up with this bar inside the body of the mill. And on this part of the mill, there is a little arrow. You want to line up this arrow with the arrow on the mill. So you kind of pull it on, you have to create some tension there, and then you turn it towards on. Later when you take it off, you will turn it back towards off. And that's just a little visual diagram to help you remember which way to turn it. And then you tighten this screw here to keep that secure. So that's that, and then this plastic chute goes on the end. Our sauce is going to come out the holes this way down our chute, and the skins and seeds are going to come out this chute. So now this is our chute for the sauce. It just slides right over all of that. Put a bowl. You do need something that's on the low side so your chute can come down. If you use something that's too tall, then it will be problematic because you need it to come down. Okay, so I've got my bowl that's on the low side to catch the sauce under this chute or ramp, and then I have another bowl here under this chute to catch the seeds and skins, and then this funnel, the hopper, goes on the top, and then the handle inserts right there, and that's it. It's very simple, as you can see, to assemble. It does have a tamper to kind of like a plunger to kind of push the pulp down in there through the funnel and through the mill. So let me show you how it works to actually run food through the mill. I've got my tomato mixture here. It also has onion and red pepper in it because I'm making ketchup. And I need my ladle. And I just transfer this into the hopper, but you know what I just remembered is that I do like to lay a towel down on the floor, because even though I wouldn't say that this is leaky, there are some drips involved, and I just like to protect my floor. It makes it easier to clean up later. So I'm just going to put that towel on the floor to catch any drips, and then I'm just going to transfer my cooked and softened veggies into the hopper. And then you just turn the crank. A lot of this is probably pretty self-explanatory, but I really did get so many questions about it that I thought it might be helpful to show you. You can also see more tutorials with specific recipes where I'm also using the food mill inside my canning courses. I have a course focused solely on tomatoes called Preserving Tomatoes, where I teach you how to can tomatoes, freeze tomatoes, dry tomatoes, and even ferment them. And then I have a full canning course. It's called Sugar-Free Canning, and it teaches you how to water bath can and pressure can. But this is as simple as what you see here. You just load the veggies into the hopper, and then you turn the crank to run them through the mill. So you can see that there is a little bit of dripping involved. Like I sometimes wind up with some drips under here, but it's very easily cleaned up. I definitely don't feel like it's dripping all over the place. I will say that one time I did have it dripping all over the place, and it was because I had assembled it incorrectly. So if you are dealing with a super leaky situation, just go back through the steps and make sure that you are assembling your mill correctly. For me personally, the first time I get it out every year, I have to kind of like reorient myself to how it works. And that's what happened to me actually this year. The first time I got it out, a friend was here in the kitchen and I was talking with her, and it was the first time that I was using the mill for that year. And I don't know, I missed something and I had quite a mess. I was actually a little embarrassed, but it sure did motivate me to make sure that I assembled it correctly the next time. That's how it works. It really is as simple as that. When I need to pour this out or switch to a different container, I like to tilt the ramp up so it doesn't drip. And then if I have another pot that I'm pouring into, I'll do it that way, or sometimes I just keep using a new bowl or dish to catch the sauce. So I'm not going to show you this part, but I did want to tell you kind of a cleanup tip. For me, the way I like to do it is that when I'm finished milling what I need to mill and I have, you know, cleaned out the seeds and the skins, I take my mill apart piece by piece and clean it. I have found, like, this is white, and the longer that the tomato sits on that white plastic, the more likely it is to stain. Same for this shoot. And also it's very drippy. And for me, it's not right next to my sink. You know, I'm going across the kitchen to my sink. If you happen to be milling right next to your sink, then that's like amazing, best case scenario. But so what I do is take it apart literally piece by piece. I take this out, take it to the sink, I wash it, I put it, you know, on the drying mat. I take this off, so on and so forth, until I'm just down to my metal body of the mill. That's always the drippiest part because there's always just a tiny bit of tomato left in there, but I just kind of, you know, catch the drips in my hands and transport it. But I have just found, you can't see this piece right now because the chute is covering it, but the metal sieve part, that is the part that is the most time intensive to clean because it's got all the little tomato bits in all the little holes. And my tip is that the quicker you can wash off the tomato stuff or whatever other food you're milling, the quicker you can wash the pieces, the easier they are to clean and the less likely they are to become stained over time. The sieve, I especially like to clean as soon as possible, and I do a lot of rubbing with my hands to get all the little tomato bits out. Sometimes if I'm in a hurry and I don't have time to work with it right then, I will leave it soaking in some water so that all the tomato stuff doesn't get dried on to that sieve mill part. So I hope that's helpful to you. I've used this mill for 5 growing seasons, 5 garden produce seasons, and I really only use it for tomatoes. I don't think I've ever used it for anything else because I preserve a ton of tomatoes. It's marketed as an applesauce maker, among other things. I've never used it to make applesauce because personally I like to keep the skins in my applesauce. I use my Vitamix to puree my applesauce. You can find that recipe on my blog, and you can find the tutorial inside my sugar-free canning course. So I'm only using this for tomatoes. I use it all summer long to make ketchup, tomato sauce, marinara sauce, all kinds of tomato things, and it works great for me. I hope that answers your questions. If you have more questions about using the food mill, just leave me a comment and I'll do my best to get back to you. Happy preserving and happy food milling. I wanted to show you one tip for something that I've started doing more recently because it would drive me crazy when I would take the mill apart at the end. There would still be what I feel like is a significant bit of tomato stuff down in there that had not gone through the mill. So what I started doing is using a butter knife. What happens is that for some reason, some of the tomato stuff gets stuck behind this red part that pushes everything through, and so it doesn't run through the mill. So I use the knife and I kind of coax that stuff to where the red part can grab it. It's not a huge deal, but I do feel like I need to keep my recipe as accurate as possible, right? Like if I've weighed out or measured out my tomatoes, I want all of them to go through this milling process and contribute to the final result, which is usually for canning. I guess I'm more concerned about it for the canning recipes. When I'm making marinara sauce for freezing, it's less important to be accurate on the quantities. But anyway, if that bothers you too, any wasted tomato bits, then try a butter knife and try coaxing your tomatoes or your veggies to a place where that red part will grab them and take them through the mill. At the very end of the milling process, I like to use something like this to scrape every last bit of the milled tomatoes that I can from this metal mill part here. And then I carefully take off the ramp and continue scraping the other side of this into the bowl.